a huge set of moving parts that you had to manage. So I bring all of that knowledge. I bring the corporate world knowledge, and then I bring my own kind of experiences to bear, to help people. And so that's the sort of coaching that I do. Some of it is life coaching, but it's primarily on the basis of you've got an idea for your business. Either it's a startup or you're already established in business, and you want to do something different. How can you achieve that, and what can you do?
Yeah, because I got to tell you, when you were talking about that, I've owned my own businesses, and when you're first starting out, fear, that financial fear in bills,
Mhm.
that can really impact sales more than you think. People are very savvy and
Yeah.
they can smell desperation. So even if you have something that they're just gagging for, they really, really want, if they feel like you're desperate to give it to them in
Hmm.
any way, shape, or form, they have a protective mechanism. We all have this innate thing. And I think people are more savvy than they used to be too. They'll be like, let me just think about it. You're freaking
Yeah.
me out a little bit. And so you have to break through that to be the real consultative person and actually divorce yourself from that fear in whatever way you have to do. So when you talked about that, I went, oh, I remember that well, and
Well,
having to work through that.
I mean that applies going back to the sales, roles as it were. Even if you're in a corporate job
Oh yeah.
in a sales role, you've got targets to hit, KPIs to hit, and ultimately in a sales position, if you aren't making your number, you could be out. So that desperation still comes through in many sales conversations, and people can spot it, as you say. People can spot that fear almost. So when you're in your own little business and you're thinking, okay, I've got $10,000 worth of bills coming in tomorrow, and I can't see where my next kind of dollar is coming from. That can affect the way in which you're selling. You project that desperation. There's a whole set of things there, and you've got to really pull yourself back from that and say, do you know what? I'm trusting my process. I've got a process in place. I'm going to trust it. And yes, there will be these moments of cash flow, but as the cash comes in, I'll also bank some of that cash so that I know that when I've got those other bills coming in, I've got a slightly quieter period. I've got enough to cover that. And then, so once you put those processes and systems in place and you trust them, then it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, learning to trust and to have the systems in place. That's an
Yes.
important thing to be able to do. So
Mm.
going back to asking people what does success matter to them, is there in I know it's completely different for all people, but are there any general themes that you've picked on that you say this one thing seems to be very popular? What would you
Mm.
say it is?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I'm actually going through that exercise now. I've
Oh,
published 51 episodes of
mhm,
Success Matters.
that's a
And,
lot.
yeah, thank you. Every question, every time I ask my guest, so what does success mean to you? I do get a slightly different answer. I would say um, happiness comes quite high in the list.
Mhm,
Happiness and then okay, so how do you measure the happiness? What is that happiness index
mhm,
for you? And that's really related to having the freedom to do what you want to do is one aspect of that. Having the confidence in yourself to know that you've got everything inside you that you need to be able to live the life that you want. And we all do. We just put these barriers up that actually stop us from achieving what we want to achieve. And there's a sort of third thing which is around, I would say service is the third thing that comes up quite a lot, whether it's the example I gave of love, whether it's Kathy, who's the palliative care doctor, whether it's Laura, who's a good friend of mine who had one view of what success meant for her. She had two children who are both autistic, one very severely autistic. For her now, it's creating a world that she knows her children will be able to grow up into adults that supports them, right? And so in doing so, she's actually serving the whole, if you like, community of people who have the similar situation. So I suppose those are the three things that come up as general themes.
Yeah, those are really good. And I'm glad I know that because for me, working, with the clinic owners like I do, those are other themes that I can pull out
Hmm.
too. You know, you have to remind yourself because we get stuck in the day to day so quickly. Well, I've got to make this phone call and I've got
Yeah.
these 10 emails and I've got this stuff. And then sometimes it's hard when you do your, you know, like every night I do my prayers before I go to bed, but then I also take a reflection of
Hmm.
the day. Like, did I hit my priorities for the day? What do I need to do for tomorrow? You know, those sorts of thoughts. And there have been days where I've like, I don't even know what happened. You know, like it just this day happened. I'm not really sure what that was all about, you know, but I'm going to
Yeah.
try tomorrow. And it feels like if we can be more intentional with what success matters to us, and if we're on the beat of it, we can be happier, which is one of the
Hmm.
things people want in general. So yeah.
Yeah. And that, so that goes back to the deathbed exercise that you ask people to do, right? Because
Mhm.
that if you reflect each day on how have I got further closer to my goal, my aspiration, that North Star of mine, then that really does help to drive, you know, your happiness, I suppose, right? Because every day you will make a change, you will make it. You may not feel like a big step,